He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, an iconic 80s franchise that has captured the imaginations of many. But I'll be honest, I didn't grow up with the original series. My introduction to the franchise was thanks to the 2002 remake, which you should go watch it, by the way. All the episodes are on YouTube, and basically it's the best version. That being said, and in all honesty here, my knowledge of the original He-Man mainly came from memes and Robot Chicken sketches.
Hey, could you not have the power at 3 a.m.? Some of us have to wake up in 3 hours, for f***'s sake.
So funny story, when I was driving around with my mom one day, the original Hey Ya song actually came on and I couldn't stop laughing, all because the meme ruined it for me. As you can imagine, my mother was confused. So for the longest time, you can say I've seen He-Man mainly as a joke, though I will admit it has made Skeletor into an icon. However, in 2018, interest in the Masters of the Universe franchise would come back with a Netflix remake of She-Ra and the Princess of Power. Now, this remake was not without its controversies, as so-called acclaimed fans hated it, mocked this for controversy including its art style and its LGBT themes. Still, despite all that, there were people who loved the show as it was their introduction to She-Ra and the Masters of the Universe as a whole. In fact, a buddy of mine named Big Bruh Toons did an entire video gushing over the series. Once you're done this video, I recommend you go check out his. It's something he's really proud of. However, once She-Ra ended, something was promised that would finally bring new life to He-Man. A more back to basics per se.
I have the power!
So for many fans, they were hype, and I'll admit I too was interested. Master of the Universe Revelation would be the triumphant return of He-Man, and when it came out, well... So it's no secret that Revelation is widely despised by many, and I'm just going to be one of those people who will say it, I actually kind of like it.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
So I'm actually one of the very few people who enjoy this series. Well, if you know me, you definitely know why I like this series. But instead of making this a simping video, I'm going to be fair and address the criticisms of this show. Both the valid and invalid, and go through the reasons why I like this series, but also talk about what it could have done right. After all, just because I enjoy a series doesn't mean I can't talk about its flaws. So in case you're someone who hasn't seen the series, you may ask what Revelations really is all about. Well, Revelations is a sequel to the original He-Man cartoon from the 1980s. Teela is receiving the title of Man-at-Arms, but Skeletor attacks Castle Grayskull, so it's up to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe to fight Skeletor. So Skeletor opens up a portal that happens to threaten all of reality. Because of this, He-Man must sacrifice himself in order to save Eternia. However, it is revealed to Teela that Prince Adam and He-Man were the same. King Randor, the father of Adam, banishes the original Man-at-Arms because he knew about Adam's secret. But Teela, who was Adam's best friend and didn't know that he was He-Man, decides to leave because she had enough of everyone's bullshit. Years go by and Teela becomes a bounty hunter and is partnered with a young woman by the name of Andra. Along the way, they fight an evil technocratic cult led by Triclops and Trapjaw, two former underlings of Skeletor, and come in contact with Evil Lyn, Skeletor's right-hand woman and second-in-command. It is revealed that He-Man's presence was the reason magic was around in Eternia, and his disappearance along with Skeletor is the reason why magic is dying and why there's a power vacuum. So they come across some old friends such as Man-at-Arms, Orko, and Beastman to travel to the afterlife to bring back He-Man. And they do bring Prince Adam back, but before he becomes He-Man, Skeletor makes his return and almost kills him. Again, and Skeletor himself becomes Master of the Universe. Our heroes barely escape as they're saved by the Sorceress of Grayskull, who sacrificed herself. Teela actually saves Adam from dying as she finds that she's magic due to being the daughter of the sorceress. Anyway, Skeletor runs amok trying to find Adam, but Adam ends up finding a way to beat him. So even though he doesn't have the sword, Adam still tries to call the power of Grayskull, and well, he ends up turning into a monster that looks like if the Hulk and Spear from Primal fused together. And he ends up beating the ever-loving piss out of Skeletor. But Teela uses her magic powers to escape again. All the while, Evil Lyn feels like she should be in control and takes the sword and becomes Master of the Universe. Oh, whoa, Nelly. Okay, I got a lot to say about this one. Anyway, I'm pressed for time, and this took longer than I expected. Let's speed this up. Blah 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 blah, Evil Lyn wants to destroy the universe because of nihilism. Blah 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 blah, Skeletor and Adam join forces. Blah 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 blah, Teela embraces her magic heritage. Blah 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 blah, big ass awesome battle. Blah 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 blah, possible She-Ra crossover. So let's begin to talk about the criticisms. Well, one of the main ones is of course the main character herself. So the first episode actually has a strong start until the very end where He-Man is killed off and Teela becomes the main character. Now let's address the legitimate and illegitimate criticisms of this. For starters, killing off your main character and replacing them with someone else is nothing new, but 9 times out of 10 it's never received well. The problem came from the marketing. You see, Netflix marketed this as the next big He-Man show, but looking at how Netflix marketing usually is, this was kind of a huge red flag. At the time, a rumor came out saying that He-Man wasn't going to be the main character, with producer Kevin Smith coming out doing damage control. I remember an associate of mine telling me that this wasn't true, but the moment the rumor turned out to be true, she was so embarrassed and felt like a complete jackass trying to defend Smith in the show, and it's one of the contributing factors of her hating the series. Now, many fans were not feeling Teela as the main character as she was considered bland, bitchy, and very unlikable. Now, when news came out that Kevin Smith actually hated He-Man, it only made people hate the series even more. Not to mention, despite it being a sequel to the 80s cartoon, it disregards a lot of the continuity from the original show and stories outside of the cartoon. So another factor I think fans have is the story is not so good with it lacking consistency, and yeah, I would have to agree with that. As you saw from me speed running through the plot synopsis, this story is all over the place. Because it's a 10 episode series, a lot is going on, but because of that, the pacing just seems like it's being rushed. And many of the characters lack any development, and when they do, it's a rather mixed bag. For example, Andra. My main issue is that sadly she wasn't developed, mostly just being the sidekick. It's hinted that she's kind of a weapons geek and she does participate in the final battle, thus gaining the title of Man-at-Arms, but I feel like nothing much was done with her. Another example is that we see various characters outside the main cast who are part of the He-Man lore, who only get cameos, and sometimes they're just there, and other times they just die. Oh neat, I kinda remember Moss Man, he seems like a cool guy. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he just got killed. Okay then. Ooh, Trapjaw and Triclops being the new villains. This should be interesting. No, they're kind of pushed to the side. Okay. Alright, Mermaid here seems pretty awesome, and he's gone. Hey, these guys seem to be awesome, and one of them is about fisting.
Hey, phrase it!
And now they're Skeletor zombies. Who the hell is this guy again? I think you get my point. If you were a He-Man fan, you'd be kind of pissed that these side characters got shafted, but for a non-fan like myself, you don't really understand why these characters are so important. Also, I will say this, but Evil Lyn's plan is dumb. I'm sorry, you have all that power, yet you want to kill yourself along with everyone just because the universe is too big and it means nothing? You have the power, why not remake the universe in your image? Say something similar to Cyrus from Pokemon Platinum. It kind of reminds me of Owlman from Crisis on 2 Earth, where he's like, oh, there's infinite worlds, oh well, nothing matters. I'm not a fan of villains like that. I think suicidal nihilistic villains can work, but only if we can understand their motivation. 2 examples that come to mind is the Reverse Flash from Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox and Zeke Yeager from Attack on Titan. For the Reverse Flash, he doesn't care who has to live or die, including himself. As long as he sees the Flash suffer and his goal is complete, he can die a happy man. Sure, it's petty, but because Zoom is such an enjoyable villain, you just go along with it. Also, it's because of this version we are blessed with this glorious meme.
Remember when you were making out with your first girlfriend, and you came right as she touched your leg? It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it'd seem like you nutted at just a woman's touch!
Then there's Zeke Yeager, who is more small scale as he wants to destroy the Eldian race as he believes that their extinction will lead to the end of hatred and warfare that plagued his people. It's still messed up, but you can understand where he's coming from. Also, he can turn into a giant monkey, so that makes it all good.
Monkey.
Also, Skeletor being outsmarted by seduction can leave one with a bad feeling. I could make a Cinema Sins Power Up Boners pun and reference, but because I hate those guys, I'm not. But don't worry, a boner joke will come soon. Trust me. And these are all valid complaints. If I was a fan of this franchise, I would feel the same way. In fact, I actually do kind of understand. In fact, this whole situation reminds me of the Star Wars sequels. You know where this is going. Continuity being disregarded, characters not acting like themselves, and switching out the main characters. Finn was marketed to be the main lead, but unfortunately his role was overtaken by Rey. And we all know how that went. However, it also had the same discourse, which will lead me to my next point. So up to this point in this video, I have been diplomatic. I have been kind. I have been reasonable and understanding. But I am now willing to throw away all that goodwill to address the illegitimate criticisms. The ones that make me so annoyed and the reason why this video is being made in the first place. You know who these people are. They are constantly complaining that Revelations is SJW propaganda. Which, by the way, it can't be because it was created by the most evilest of all creatures.
A straight white man.
With them saying horrible things such as they look like men, they look like lesbians, or that they're trans. Which I gotta say is...
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit!
Let me tell you something, you fucks. Muscle women are beautiful. And I'm tired of pretending they're not. And if you're not a muscle woman, fine, that's your preference. You're allowed to have those things. But don't be talking shit like, oh, they're too masculine. No, fuck you. Even if they are, who gives a shit? Nobody has to conform to your traditional view of femininity. But yeah, Tila can get it. Andra can get it. Evil Lynn can get it. Champion Evil Lynn! I swear to God, if her plan wasn't so stupid, I would definitely fight for her. Long live the queen who should have been smarter. So yeah, we don't allow muscle women slander here. Take that shit outside. Don't disrespect the muscle women. I'm tired of this kind of sexism, homophobia, and transphobia. That's 3 kinds of bigotry wrapped in one, my dudes. Speaking of which, this one doesn't come up often, but every now and then I see some racism here and there. Specifically for 2 characters, Andra and Lord Grayskull. You see people complain that they were race swapped and blackwashed, which I know some of my friends would call bullshit on that, but for now, I'm going to humor that idea. If they were very well established characters, I can see where they were coming from. I mean, it's still a dumb argument, but at least they would have a leg to stand on for there. But Andra was just a really obscure minor character in an 80s comic book spin-off that no one read. And even when they had a chance to reestablish her in the newer comics, they still did nothing with her. She is very insignificant. Dude, this character is so unknown, not even the people in this universe knew who she was.
What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry. And you are?
And Lord Grayskull, who was originally the grandfather of He-Man, was an invention of the 2002 version. The one that nobody cared despite it being the superior version. And despite how he looks, this one has no relations to He-Man. So stop acting like you care, you racist, grifting asshole! Besides, I didn't see many of you complain when they made Tila Darkskin in the CGI cartoon. Ah fuck, now I open up that Pandora's jar. Now they have another thing to complain about. I also remember hearing some people saying that this show is sexist towards men, which the correct term is actually misandry, but I don't see it. Man-at-Arms is a badass through and through, protecting his friends and family. Orko gains some development by gaining the confidence to become a better sorcerer. Cringer learns to become more courageous without his battle cat form. And King Randor learns to open up and realize how much of a shitty father he's been. Even Prince Adam / He-Man himself, despite his death being bullshit, sacrifices himself to save the universe, and when he comes back, he kicks major ass. If this is sexism, then I'm all for it, as honestly, I believe this is how a man should be, strong physically and mentally, but also willing to show their softer side. So take your toxic masculinity and blow it out your ass!
Blow it out your ass! Blow it out your ass! Blow it out your ass! Blow it out your ass! Blow it out your ass!
And yes, Beastman's out here simping, but you can't win them all. So you may be asking, okay Berg, aside from muscle women, if you criticize the series, then why defend it? What do you actually like about it? Well, let's start with the good I think everyone can agree with. The animation here looks spectacular. Like, I think this is the best He-Man ever looked and moved. You know those people who would say that 80s cartoons had good animation? Laughable as that may be, they're confusing it with art style. The 80s had a good art style. Aside from the openings, 80s cartoons had very lackluster animation. But here the series manages to combine the two to something that looks very great. The music is also beautiful as well. When you hear that He-Man theme or when Man-at-Arms is kicking ass, you can't help but get pumped up. I mean, this music was conducted by the ever so awesome Bear McCreary, which if you don't know, he conducted films and video games such as God of War, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Call of Duty Vanguard. And while the heroes may be lackluster, I do enjoy the villains very much. This is the best version of Skeletor so far. You can tell Mark Hamill is having a ball voicing him. He's the exact mixture of the serious and calculated villain from the 2002 version with the silliness and fun of the 80s version. This man has a serious hate boner for He-Man. He's willing to take him down no matter what, and that's what makes him enjoyable. See, I told you I had a plan for that boner joke. Also, I've had a nickel for every time that Mark Hamill voiced a skeleton-themed villain. I have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's what had happened twice. And I thought Evil Lynn in the beginning had a great character arc. Realizing that she was trapped with Skeletor, and now that she's gone, she can find newfound freedom for herself. But once again, he comes back, all that development goes out the window. And yes, even though I want Dami Mommy Evil Lynn to have her way with me, I do feel like her character went into a wrong direction. But I think it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. The real reason why Revelations has a poor reputation. Teela. Due to Teela being the main character, she has gotten the most hate, and honestly, for the most part, I think this hate is unfounded. I think the issue is Teela is dealing with grief, which everyone has their own way of dealing with. And especially being lied to for all those years, it's understandable why someone would be pissed. And I know some people will bring up this infamous scene where Teela and Adam are in the afterlife and Teela is still mad at him despite all the stuff that happened.
I know how you...
Stop.
Stop what?
Being nice. Just let me be angry.
Because I lied?
Yes, because you lied. I couldn't mourn my friend because I didn't know who he was.
I died!
Yeah, and the rest of us had to live with it.
Now many people compare this to the scene in Invincible where Mark reveals his secret identity to Amber, but she already knew but still broke up with him because she never told him. So at first glance, yes, these two scenes do look comparable, but the reason I'm willing to defend Teela in this is because Teela actually didn't know. She literally saw her best friend die in front of her, and her secret had her father banished from the kingdom and left the world to rot. All the while, Amber knew Mark was getting his ass kicked on a regular basis and still trying to find time with her and was still a bitch to him. So yeah, in a way, even though it was a shitty thing to do, I believe Teela's anger is justified. And over time, she learns to forgive Adam and embraces her magical heritage and fulfill her destiny as the sorceress of Grayskull. But I'm not the only one who will discuss this. I brought the most cultured man I know. So without further ado, ladies, gentlemen, and people of unspecified genders, allow me to introduce the man, the myth, the legendary MILF hunter himself, Big Bruh Toons!
What's good, y'all? It's Kang of Big Bruh Toons. So, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, an 80s classic showcasing great animation and compelling stories, and yeah, I don't have many fond memories of this show. I barely remember watching it even as a kid. It was just too stale, and the animation or lack thereof was pretty stiff, bro, not gonna lie to you. Honestly, outside of the 2002 series, She-Ra 2017, and the Robot Chicken skits, I have no personal connection or nostalgia for He-Man or the Masters of the Universe franchise. But this series, I gotta say, I'm personally here for it. The animation, the designs, and the Muscle Queens, yes sir, I love it. I love to see it. Of course, this is not without its flaws. The pacing for the first season is very slow, especially when they showcase the world of Eternia in ruins. It's kind of depressing. Also, I feel like, I can understand where Teela's coming from about being lied to all these years. How they went about it was not great and kind of stupid in my opinion. I just blame the writing on that part. But hey, that's just me. And for people who were bummed about He-Man, who died nearly twice in this show, I respect the opinion and understand why you didn't like that. But for me, I love that scene. Look, and all due respect to He-Man fans, I never liked Prince Adam. Team Skeletor all the way for being the most memorable and hilarious character throughout the franchise. Mark Hamill voicing him in this show? He has such great comedic timing, yo. If you know, you know. Even during the serious moments, I loved it. But back to the animation, this series is really top-notch with it, especially the fight scenes. Watch the battle between Skelegod and Savage He-Man. That shit went hard, and it shows. Even the last battle in season 2, they just did not have to, like, I don't know, bro. It's like the animation in that was just so clean. I love war scenes and like animation, but this is just really good. It's really good, bro. I love that part in the final episode. And not to mention the 5 muscle queens. Like, brother, look at these goddesses, especially the glorious Evelyn when she is all powerful. See, Burger's a coward. Baby, you want to destroy the universe? Do it. As long as I'm by your side, I can die a happy man. Also, to the people who keep saying, she look like a man, allow me to ask you this question. How does it feel to be a bitch-ass, crusty-ass, tired-ass, no-life-having-ass, never touched grass their whole life with them transphobic-ass remarks, bro? This is why y'all built like that one nigga from the Powerpuff Girls. You know the one. Anyway, yeah. Revelations is pretty solid. I recommend it if you are truly open-minded to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe franchise, no matter how they're adapted. It's not perfect, but far from the worst thing in the world. This has been Kang, and all I can say is, Team Skeletor all the way, baby. Peace!
Thanks, Kang. Really appreciate it. So, with all that said and done, how do we fix this series? Well, for starters, it should have taken the time to develop its characters. Like, for example, the first part should have been 12 episodes instead of 5. 3 episodes to focus on He-Man and Adam being alive and showing his friendship with Teela. 3 episodes showing how Teela and the World of Eternia are dealing with He-Man's death. 3 episodes are trying to get the band back together. And 3 episodes are trying to get Prince Adam back to life. Or, if you still want to keep the 5 episode count, make it an anthology series. Like, keep the first episode as it is, but have episode 2 focus on Teela and Andra, episode 3 focus on Evil Lyn, episode 4 on Man-at-Arms, Oracle and Roboto, and episode 5 on Beastman. Then have the second part focus on them trying to bring back He-Man. After all, it is called Masters of the Universe. I'm going to use 4 examples of other Netflix shows that managed to do these much better. She-Ra and the Princess of Power, the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, Castlevania, and Arcane League of Legends. She-Ra, despite having loose connections with the Masters of the Universe, is pretty much its own thing, separating itself from the original. And sure, it has its haters, but that just comes with the territory. Transformers War for Cybertron has a lot of issues, but one of the things the first part did well was establish the world of the Generation 1 Transformers to newcomers, while also giving old fans something that they were familiar with. Castlevania definitely does the same while giving its character development and slowly but carefully builds its world. In Arcane, which I've heard people say is Revelations done right, actually showcasing strong female characters going through grief while also showing the fight between science and magic. Hell, even the recent CGI He-Man cartoon actually does a good job in establishing its lore and character. Overall, I think there were multiple factors that led to the hatred for Revelations. Still, despite all its faults, I still find enjoyment in the show. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Like, I can understand why a He-Man fan would hate this series. But for the love of God, actually give me a good reason why you would hate it. Like, if you just call it woke SJW trash, then that just shows me how much of an ass you are. Like, you can't give legit criticism. It's just, that's not how it works. In fact, it's because of fans like those is the reason I made this video. Due to the cliffhanger ending, it seems like Revelations isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I still might check it out, but for those looking for a good He-Man remake, I beg of you, please watch the 2002 version. I mean, come on, it's all there, free on YouTube. This is the He-Man series that people need to be talking about.